job interview is one of the most anxiety-provoking situations most people can find themselves in, even when they go to plan. But what happens when you have your worst interview ever? Our guests share their worst interviews ever in the hope that you will take something from their mistakes to have a more successful interview outcome. Some of the stories are horrific and some are just downright embarrassing. Let's join our host, Kevin O'Reilly, the interview skills coach with over 25 years' experience in the fields of coaching and recruitment. Let's welcome our guests to the show.
Today we have on the show Omid Mufeed, a CTO from Navigator, where he leads an award-winning digital badge and skills validation solution for organizations to recognize skills and learning pathways for employees and individuals. Omid, you're very, very welcome today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Tell us where we find you today.
Sorry, say again, please.
Where do we find you today?
Oh, I'm in Leeds, in Yorkshire.
Oh, it's across the pond for me. I'm the other direction, across on the island of Ireland.
Yeah, it's a beautiful grey day here.
Oh, it's not a beautiful grey day here. It's a beautiful black, grey, all sorts of weird and wonderful colours out the window, and it is raining cats and dogs.
Oh, amazing.
But before we get started, Omid, would you mind just giving a little introduction to who you are and why you're here today?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Omid Mufeed, Chief Technology Officer at Navigator. Navigator is a platform that helps organizations create, manage, and track digital badges to recognize skills and learning pathways. My background is in software engineering. So I've spent 2 decades building enterprise scale technology solutions. And the work I've done is mostly focused on using technology to solve a particular problem, and that problem being bridging the gap between learning something and getting into employment, and helping individuals showcase their skills in a meaningful and verifiable way.
Yeah, and that's very important because there's lots of skills that people have that would be very useful to any organization, but there's nothing there really. Well, there was nothing there to be able to demonstrate that other than your word. But now you've come up with a solution that you can actually see those skills, click on the badge, and then find out what they had to go through to achieve that as well.
Yeah, exactly. This problem is not a new problem. It has existed forever, and it's as technology and digital age has offered solutions to different types of problems, all the way from how you buy things to how you enjoy things. It applies to this problem of showcasing your skills as well. And at the early stages, we had the websites, and you had your social media profiles, and you had your digital CVs, and it is just a transition. Open badges or digital badges are one of the latest solutions to that problem, one that is transferable, verifiable, and easy to use as well.
Yeah.
One that puts it in the hands of the individual, and it is useful both for the job seeker, for the candidate, and also for the employers. And having been on both sides of that, when you're looking for a job, when you're a candidate, it is difficult to showcase your skills. But when you're actually hiring, when you're looking for somebody with the right skills, it is equally as difficult to find the right people with the right skills. So it is something that I personally am passionate about, and I enjoy working on it every day.
Yeah, yeah, and I know because I'm a member and I use those badges myself, and I use them quite a lot within the school setting. And whenever the students receive their badges, they're quite overjoyed to the point where they're sharing them with, friends and family and saying, "Listen, look at what I achieved." But it's not only that; it's just really useful whenever you're going for a job or you're going for an interview with regards to a university or course or place, that they can actually see that you've done a little bit more and went away and had that validated. So that saves a lot of time.
Exactly, it saves a lot of time on both ends. Um, and the interview is not just the 1 hour that or the half an hour that you're sitting across the desk from somebody. It starts much before that, and it continues after that. Before you meet somebody in person or on a call, they will have looked you up online. And after the interview, if it goes well, they will continue to look you up. So it's important to have an accurate, most importantly, and trustable, trustworthy, and a rich portfolio of all of your skills. And those skills, like I mean, we have the formal education and the traditional qualifications that we have, the degrees, the bigger, chunkier qualifications that you have. But there's a lot that happen in between those. And if you want to have a rich profile of yourself, you need to include all of them. And where the paper certificates fall short, digital versions of them come in handy, and it helps hugely as the employer as well when they look you up beforehand, being able to see what you have achieved, what skills you have earned, who has issued that badge to you, and also what criteria you had to meet to earn that badge. So yeah, it definitely saves time, and it creates a level playing field as well.
Mm,
Because if you are not a confident communicator in an interview setting, it is difficult to articulate your skills, especially if
mm,
your skills uh, don't follow the formal qualifications, where you don't have a university degree to show for the skills you have, but you have you have been involved in 10 open source projects, you have
yeah,
contributed to 20 projects, you have 2 years of experience doing the job. But when it comes to somebody actually asking you, so tell me who you are, tell me what you know, it's really difficult to put it into words, especially if you are, I mean, naturally um, more introvert. It can be
yeah.
more challenging. So having a digital format has certainly helped me in my life as a job seeker and as a hiring manager as well. And uh, we're trying to, well, my passion is always finding solutions to the problems that I have experienced myself. So it's almost building the tools that I would find useful. So that's
It's
makes
it's
it more
very
enjoyable.
well. I suppose that's how a lot of innovation happens, isn't it? That someone sees a need and then they create a solution for the need.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. And as I say, I use them often, and they are very helpful, very useful, and they are a great tool that people can use further on down the line. And whenever the rest of the world starts to catch up and starts to understand the usefulness of this, we are already ahead of the game. We're already ahead of the game.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, before we get into the actual reason that we're here, I always like to let our listeners know a little bit more about you. And I know we've just discussed a little bit more about you, but we want to get a little bit deeper. Something to do with a hobby, a hidden talent, or a skill. Do you have anything there you'd like to share?
uh, Hobby. I love wild swimming, cold water swimming. Uh,
Oh,
uh, Dip in a cold pond is my favorite thing to do on a weekend when I have time. don't have any badges to show for it, but yeah.
Maybe that's the next badge. Yeah, it's not the warmest here, and I'm sure it's not the warmest where you are.
Actually, that is the best time to do it, especially if you can almost like break the ice and hold your breath, quick dip and out. I recommend it. It's almost like a rebirth.
Ah, okay, like a reset, like just pressing the
Exactly.
reset button.
Yeah, exactly. It just puts you on a fresh new start
Yeah,
if
I
you
think there's
survive it.
lots and lots of benefits to the cold water dipping and swimming. There are lots of benefits, not just physically but mentally as well. And they do say that you need to have a good strong heart, and by doing that cold water swimming, that actually helps get the heart pumping more often, quicker. So yeah, I can see the benefits, and I can also see the attraction.
Yeah, it is. It gets you to. It pushes you to go outdoors, which is good for mental health and physical health.
Hmm.
And yeah, I've seen lots of benefits of it on the mental health side as well.
Yeah, I'm a kayaker myself, so yes, I love the water, absolutely love it,
Mm,
and I love being out in the water. Maybe in the boat, yes, but that's fine. But I will get always out and into the water afterwards as well because there's just something about it. I don't know if there's like that moment of just being one with your environment.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
magical.
love it. It's really comfortable. So how did you get yourself to being the CTO of Navigator, Omid? So take us through some of your sort of your journey of how you got to here and a real highlight of the journey.
Mm. So, good question. How to answer that? So, I'm uh, I'm from Afghanistan originally, and I've traveled through different places. I'm computer engineering degree in Turkey. Uh, Lived there for a while, and then moving to the UK, software engineering masters, and that transition. So I've always been into technology, into coding, into software, but in a way that it actually solves a real life problem. And
Mm,
one challenge I had all throughout my life is every time moved to a new country, it was a new language, a new culture, a new people, new networks to make, and new people to prove yourself to. And it is every time you move a country, it sets you back a few years because you have to take a few steps back. You have to build on top of that again and try to get to the place where you were in the previous country. And that challenge of not being able to bring your credentials. And
mm,
though by credentials, I don't mean just the traditional ones, the university degrees and all of that. Those are challenging enough because they are in a different language, in the new culture, in the new country. They are not going to match exactly and directly. But there are lots of other in between experiences and credentials that you cannot carry over. And that problem is something that I deeply experience, and it has costed me a few years in my life. But I see many other people going through that, especially we are at the living at the age of the displaced populations.
mm,
Many people go through that. There's a challenge of um, shortage of skilled people, but there's also a shortage of job opportunities. And that is an
mm.
ironic mismatch that those two things shouldn't exist both at the same time.
Yeah.
Uh, and that is the kind of problem that frustrates me each time whenever I see a friend who has all of the right skills, but just maybe doesn't have the right level of English to articulate themselves to get their foot in the door to get into that job. That just frustrates me. And if I can do my small piece, added to that jigsaw to complete that picture, and having a future where opportunities are available to people who deserve it, regardless of who they know, regardless of the background they have, regardless of how they look, regardless of the accent that they have, and regardless of the family they come from, regardless of where they were born. Just opportunities should be available to people who deserve it, who are fit for that, who are able to do that, who are fit for that opportunity. So yeah, that's what put me on this journey. At the beginning, I explored a lot on the different ways of digital portfolios and building a personal website, building your collecting lots of different certificates. At some point, I collected tens of certificates from Microsoft, all the way from Microsoft server engineer to but then they're all paper formats, so it didn't fit. And then 2008, I think, Mozilla started the open badge movement, the open badge standard, and that just made sense. Badges existed in games beforehand, but it hadn't made its way through to the high stakes qualifications. They were not things that would be taken serious by an employer or by an education organization. And what Mozilla started with open badges was something that opened the door to these digital qualifications or digital badges or open badges, whatever they are called, to be part of the mainstream and be taken as a serious way of showcasing what somebody knows. And it's nice to see that at the beginning they were more for low stakes ones. Having joined an event or having joined a workshop, they're valuable, but they're not the kind of things that actually get you into a job. It's nice to see organizations like Open University, for example, looking into issuing badges for their degrees, or City and Guilds having issued, I think, 1 million badges for the type of qualifications that get you into a job, and IBM having issued so many badges globally. So these big players adopting open badges and making it part of the landscape of workforce, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I'm sure, and it's when you get those big fish on your side, then everybody else thinks, well, if they're doing it, I should be doing it, and they end up. Then that's when that snowball or that domino effect happens. It's just the next one then wants it, the next one wants it, the next one wants it, and it just continues down that line. And it's great to see, because there's definitely a need for this recognition in this way.
Yeah, definitely. It's at the, like 5-6 years ago, when you mentioned digital badges, you had to explain what they are, and you had to almost sell the concept of digital badges before even you start thinking about how it is applied. It's nice that now when you sit in front of an organization, they already are sold. They already know what digital badges are, and they are coming to you with the how question. Like, I want digital badges. How am I going to get on with it? And that is a much easier conversation to have.
Yeah, absolutely. The educational piece doesn't need to be there anymore, and then you can go straight into the how do we meet your need? How do we fill that need? Which is wonderful. But like you said, a couple of years back, you had to explain that. And I suppose, like anything in careers, there's balance, isn't there? There's ups and there's downs. Can you remember any sort of pivotal, sort of low moment within this journey that you're currently on that sort of made you think, do you know what? No, I'm not going to do this, or I'm going to do something completely different, or. But listen, we've all had them. We've all had them.
Yeah. Which one do I pick? In this market of in this area of digital formats of recognizing skills. We have started, we have built about 5 different platforms. Over time, we had a version of early version of the platform which was more for primary school students, and it was primary school students getting a badge for having tidied up their bedroom and taking a picture to the teacher, so they would receive the well done tidy bedroom badge. And then we had the next level up, which was more towards over 13s and secondary school, all the way to the high school, which was more serious things. And then we had the academy one, which was the type of badges that would get you into a job. And we did a good project with the World Chefs organization, where in the past they used to they have an annual event where all of the chefs who want to have those World Chefs qualifications have to travel to a location at a certain time, give away 2 weeks of or 1 week of their time to cook, to be in that kitchen and cook while they are being assessed. And then if they pass, they get their certificate that can go on. They can be a sous chef or a master chef or do the job as a qualified chef. So we kind of applied technology to that and built a platform where chefs could do all of the cooking in their own kitchens, wherever in the world they were, and they would record themselves and upload that evidence. And then the assessors would assess that and either ask for additional evidence or issue them the badge. And that had a good, we won a better award for that. And it was great because we could actually see people who you were helping. You could see people who were full of joy for having received that qualification, because that meant that they would double their salary, or they would actually get that job that they have been dreaming to do to support their family. That's the kind of thing. But so I was building up to the challenge with building these platforms is you put your blood and sweat into them. You put so much effort, and not all of them are successful. They might shine, but eventually, most of those previous platforms, they had to be sunset. They had to be discontinued. And at some point, once you've discontinued one platform, the next platform, it can be disheartening, and it can be challenging, and it's difficult to pull yourself up and start learn from those experiences, and then start fresh with a new approach. So and Navigator is the next, the final stage of that journey, that we have taken all the experience from the different platforms and shaped it in a way that is using the best technology available. It uses the type of approach that is more focused on making digital badges change people's lives. It's not just a fancy badge that you put on your LinkedIn profile, making sure that these digital badges can be things that actually open doors and change people's lives and help people access. That's why we have a focus on place. It's not just something that we, as a technology provider, we go to an organization and say, here you go, this is all, use it. It's not a top-down solution. It is something that we work with the place, because the structure of place is always different. Belfast works as a city, works very different compared to Leeds. Leeds works very different compared to London. So if you have one solution fits all, and it's not going to work in each solution. It might work great in London, but it won't work in Manchester. So that's why we have built a platform which the first stage is learning what is going on in the ground, and then having a technology that is flexible and adaptable to work for whatever goes on the ground, and then working it out with the cities that we work across the UK. I think 9 or 10 cities with the last count. Every city is very different. One city is all run by the anchor, where the city council, for example, creates all the content and then spreads it out. But then you might have another city that is all distributed. The council might not get involved, might not even look at the platform, but all of the organizations pull their own weight in different ways. And both of the, or you can have varieties somewhere in between those two different spectrums as well.
Sounds
Different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's quite a challenge to be able to walk into one organization or city and go, we have a solution, and they go, our problem's different. So it's almost like, yes, we have something we can work with, and then we have to build it to almost suit that organization or city. Is
Yeah.
is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that is exactly it. So and those are the kind of hard learned lessons. Those are the scars of the past where you put so much effort into building a platform with the dream you have, but
Yeah.
that dream doesn't apply to the second client that you go to, and then
Yeah.
you all if a platform is not applicable, is not usable for the different use cases, then eventually it's not going to survive. It's not going to be successful. So that's why one of the main things we took this time around is building something that is flexible, can work with different scenarios.
Okay. And I suppose if we strip this back and think about this as an interview sort of different way, it's exactly like interviews. Just as you had said there about, yes, we go to one place, then we think, yeah, we need to change this, we need something else, we need to move and grow. It's just like a person doing that as well, going to a different organization in a different interview at a different time. That timing may have been right for the first iteration of the digital badge, but to bring that back out again now wouldn't be the right time to do that because it has moved on and grown into a different thing completely. And potentially you needed to do all of those other iterations first to get you to where you are now. As hard as that may be to take that knockback, to think, right, well, we need another iteration. We now have to move forward with something different. It sounds like that is almost the process. And it sounds like it's almost the process for people who are going for jobs and looking for that job that they deeply desire and deeply want in the future, because they're not always experienced or skilled enough when they first start out to get into that. But they have to go through those jobs. They have to take some sideward steps. They have to go for the interviews that are going to be really challenging to get to where they actually want to be. And it sounds like you're in a position now where you actually want to be. And it sounds like it's a happy position, which is in relation to an interview. It's someone who's just done the interview, got offered the job that they love and wanted their whole life.
Yeah, exactly. And just to connect it to the interviews are we are at the tipping point in this technology age where everything is changing so fast, and we already are, and it is only going to grow exponentially. We are interviewing for the type of jobs that didn't exist before. We are looking for type of talents that didn't exist before. And because it didn't exist, the formal qualifications don't cover them. So if you are interviewing somebody, or if you are in fact have, I don't know, you are a drone pilot about how to herd sheep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where do you start to search for a job? Or if you are looking for that person, where do you start looking for a job? Like, there isn't a sitting girls qualification for that. There isn't a
No.
university degree for that. So that is where, as technology solution builders of now, we have to build the solutions that will be flexible enough for the future that we cannot even imagine.
Yeah. I'm sure if you looked into many teenagers' room who play games on their console, you'd find plenty of drone pilots there, I'm sure.
Exactly, and that is the unexpectedness of the future talent landscape. In the future talent, all of the learned ways of doing things or we will have to almost unlearn that and learn new ways of to do it. Maybe the next jet pilot is not somebody out of a military school. It is somebody who has been playing games in their mom's bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
finding
think we
those, you need. Mhm.
I think it might be I think we might be there already, you know. When you watch some of these films and movies and we're there, there are people that are being pulled out of these world championship games that are being held now around the world and working for the military because they are so good at what they do.
Exactly.
And it's strange that, isn't it, when you think that the technology, people are really afraid of technology when they don't understand it, but when you understand it to an extent, you can see where the positives come and you can see where the potential for growth is in the future. And if you're someone like yourself who is quite technology minded, you can plan ahead for what is going to happen, get it in place now so that when it does happen and everything catches up, you're sitting ready, which is lovely.
Exactly, and it's nice to see so many like-minded organizations because it is not something that only technology uh, experts can solve for the future. You need
Mm.
the employers to be on board with this. You need the education organizations to be on board with this. You need governments to be on board with this future vision of shaping the talent market and being ready for that. And it's
Mm.
nice to see that those different players are coming to the table. And it's nice that, as I said earlier, they already know that what technology solutions are available in the current landscape. And they are ready to start talking about how you bring those technology pieces together rather
Mm.
than coming with a complete blank paper.
Yeah. And that's nice, isn't it? It's nice that there is that collaboration because many heads at the table should make more sense, but on some occasions it causes more tension than making sense. Which is it's expected. We're only human, and phrase individuals get a little bit above themselves or want more than the other person, and I understand that and I get that. But even when we think about and look at the interview itself, so you as a CTO, I'm making an assumption you hire people, and you would sit on those interviews, and you probably have done in the past. Apart from their qualifications on paper or digital, there's always something else. You almost get a feeling around people when they're there, and I would always put that down to almost them demonstrating their value and being authentically themselves because that's a feeling you can feel from someone. The energy levels change. What sort of values do you consider to be a must-have for a candidate going for an interview with you, for example, or within your industry?
Mm. It's when we first, one of the first clients, well, organizations we worked with when we were building Navigator was a coffee shop in Brighton, and they said they wanted to hire a barista to make coffee. And they could teach them how to use the coffee machine and how to brew a nice coffee, but they couldn't teach them how to be on time to work, how to talk to a customer. So funny enough, for a job to be a coffee barista, they didn't require any skills on how to function a coffee machine,
Mm-hmm.
but their requirement was um, being on time, having good communication skills, being a good team worker, uh, having a positive attitude. And I mean, they used to be called soft skills, essential skills, core skills. They come in different names, but those are more important from the technical skills, especially at this time when the way you do a technical task is changing at a fast pace. How I write code now is completely different from how I wrote it last year. Now, half of the code I write is written by AI. So if I if I hire somebody today about how to write code, I'd need to think about that. And then if that person is going to work in my team for the next few years, it needs to be the type of person who can adapt to the next year's style of writing code. So what I'm trying to get to is some basic technical skills are important, but the more important thing for the type of work that I'm involved is being a problem solver, having persistence and resilience. If one way of solving a problem is failing, not giving up and keep going, being curious, to think out of the box, being adaptable to try different ways of solving that problem, being collaborative. And what we do is it involves a lot of innovation, a lot of research and development. And by nature, that means failure. Being able to take failure and recover from that. You might have a great, bright idea of solving a problem. And in your head, when you go to bed and you can't sleep and keep thinking about that, in your head, it might all work out. But when you actually put that into lines of code, it just doesn't add up. Being able to see, being realistic about what is working and what's not, and realizing when is the time to quit and when is the time to be persistent. So those skills, and it is really hard to see those, to interview somebody for those skills. Yeah, we can work on how to write a line of Python code. We can work on that as long as you have those other skills to bring to the table.
And it sounds like you are one of those people that has all of those particular set of skills. Yeah, you probably have the technical skills as well, but you have a lot of those soft skills. And could I make an assumption that was potentially because of how you had traveled to different countries and had to restart again? And if you didn't have that resilience there, then you wouldn't have restarted again. You'd have just stayed where you were.
It is probably lived experiences. There were so many times that just talking to somebody because of your accent or because of the way that you speak English, they put you into a certain box, and it's really difficult to get out of that box. You can, you can just accept that and accept that, okay, that's fine. I will wash dishes from this point onwards. There's no more writing code. But yeah, if you keep persistent and say, no, I'm worthy of more, I will keep knocking at that door until I get that opportunity. I'm not going to suffice with that other job that is not my passion. Yeah, you kind of need that. And the world is changing. I mean, populations are moving. It's not the type of the world that we were used to in the past. So there are many people like that, and there are many future talents to discover by employers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there is definitely something that's missed for people that move from one country to another and potentially to another. They have something. There is that resilience within them. There's a want, there's a real drive, and I don't think employers see that. Those hard skills, as we call them, the technical stuff, the qualifications, that they're okay. They get you to the interview. However, it's all of those little soft skills or the essential skills, or as I call them, the important skills. They're the ones that get you the job.
Yeah, definitely. And it is, I mean, it's not just charitable to do those things. It's not just for the social value. It has direct economic benefit to the employers to experiment with these different ways of hiring people, or to reskill or upskill their existing workforce. So
Yeah.
data is widely available now for any employer who is interested in using it. And data can tell you that that person who works in IT goes home and DJs, writes music. So if you are looking for somebody who is versatile, seeing those a complete view of the skill set that a person has means that you will identify many opportunities where you can use your existing workforce and not have to hire somebody new.
Yeah.
There's a funny example. We all shop on Amazon, right?
Mhm.
Amazon knows about 100 attributes about every buyer profile on their platform. What is your gender? What is your age? Where are you located? What are your hobbies? What kind of what stage in life are you? Are you buying nappies, or are you buying kids bikes, or are you buying kiteboards, or are you buying surfing boards, or are you buying it knows a lot about you. Or Netflix, if you watch Netflix already knows what type of interest you have, on which day of the week you are more into a cheesy film rather than and on which day of the week you are more into an action film. And so these platforms have about 100 data points on every user on their platform.
Wow.
Let's take your partner in your life, for example. They probably know about 50 attributes about
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you take it to friends, maybe they will know 10 or 15 attributes about you.
So you're telling me that Netflix knows more about me than my wife?
Exactly. And if you take that all the way to the employer, many employers don't know more than 5 attributes about their staff. And
Yep.
that is sad. Amazon puts all that much effort into what to buy next or what to sell you next. Surely it is more important what kind of job promotion you have.
Yeah.
That has more life-changing impact. So why aren't there enough people putting effort into using data, using technology to make those kind of impacts in people's life, rather than just choosing the next film to watch or the next pair of shoes to buy?
Potentially because there's no money to be made in it for them, and until they find a way to monetize it.
That's the funny thing, because there is more money hiring. I don't know. I don't have the stats, but you probably have those stats more readily available in your head. Hiring is one of the most expensive uh, uh, lines of one of the most expensive services for any employer.
It is.
That hiring is not just the money you pay to the recruitment company, it is the time you put into interviewing people, to onboarding them, to training them, getting them to the point that they add value to the business.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands, if not millions, goes into that. Just put that money into something that will take all of that middleman, all of that out of the way. So if you already have got your, I don't know, GDPR awareness badge from your previous employer, just bring it over.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend 5 more hours on my training, GDPR training awareness, to do that. And if you look at it, there are so many hours wasted on all of these, and that is just the tip of the iceberg. As you go down, it is so much time wasted on all of these stages, where we already have all of the technologies to do that. The retail, the entertainment, they have been using all of these technologies, and where it matters the most, it's all lagging behind.
Well, maybe Omid, maybe you're the man to take that forward. Maybe that's another stage, Maybe, I'm just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. Okay. So whenever do you know what? I can't even get past that the 100 points of information that Netflix has on me and has on everybody else and Amazon as well, and it makes perfect sense of how they can market directly to you and how that would be really beneficial for any employer to know their staff better, to understand that would help them look forward, that would help them plan better, that would really be able to see, well, a person like this person will fall sick around this time or need time off or be at this point within their life, potentially children. Now, there is there is the negative side to that. When I just mentioned having children, and I know that some employers, and I have heard this in the past, not openly discriminate, but discriminate against women of a certain age because they don't want to have to pay maternity, which I think is absolutely disgusting. But that technology can be used for the wrong in the wrong hands
Yeah,
as much
it's
as much as the good.
there are many hurdles, and uh, that's the whole different area to get into. As with any technology, as with any tool, even a
Yeah.
screwdriver, you can use it to build a bed, or you can use it to, well, for more harmful ways. Cars, computers, AI, data, and that is all about having all the stakeholders on the involved, all the important stakeholders involved, so that these technologies can be implemented in a way that is useful and not harmful. So that's why it is important to have uh, employers involved in how these technologies are built, having education organizations involved in how these technologies are built, and having government involved in how these technologies are built. They shouldn't be just left to the technology companies to do whatever they want. That's not good for the technology companies because they won't build the right tools. It's not good for the people, and it's not good for the future of the world. We just need to, and that's why for Navigator, that's why we went back to basics and said, okay, let's build a system that is flexible, and we can talk to all the stakeholders, all the players in the game on what solution works best for them, and then molding the technology in a way that works for Belfast, in a way that works for Kingston, in a way that works for Manchester, because that is the only way that technology can be useful. That's the only way that technology can be safe. That's the only way that technology can be regulated. How can you regulate something that you don't know how it works?
Yeah. Yeah, that's very difficult. And even when you do know how something works, who are you to regulate it? Unless, of course, you are the person or the people or the government who have those think tanks and have to make regulations. So they make them as best they can with the information that they have.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we keep carrying on now, but there's this example that I keep going back to. So in the before the printed press was invented, books weren't widely available, right?
Yeah.
And knowledge wasn't widely available. And then with the invention of printed press, suddenly some people had access to all this knowledge. The rest of people could not read or write. So they didn't have access to that knowledge. And all of these people who had access to that knowledge suddenly had like a superpower.
Hmm.
And you had that stage in that period in the history where there was a lot of inequality and a lot of class system where people who had access to that knowledge suddenly were making a small portion of the population of the society was making all of the decisions because they had all of access to that knowledge, and the rest didn't understand what was in those books. They couldn't access those books.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the universities were suddenly more widely available and age of literacy was improved and everybody has access to that. So then you had the age of uh, enlightenment where there was more equality, there was more access to opportunities. That is an oversimplified version of the history, but we are in a similar stage where technology is the new printed press. And especially these technology like machine learning and artificial intelligence, many people on the ground, they don't know how these technologies work.
Yeah.
They cannot use them in the way that can help them with their lives, let alone recreating them in new formats.
Yeah.
And that is only available to a small elite that pull all the strings and make all the calls. And even the regulators don't have access to that knowledge.
Hmm.
And that's why it's important to make an equal and fair opportunity landscape where everybody has access to upskill themselves, to have the knowledge, to understand how these tools of the future work. So
Yeah.
they can either build them, some people will go and regulate them, some people might be about just everybody can pull their weight. But first is to make the knowledge accessible to everybody so that then everybody can pull it in a way that is more accessible, in a way that can create a fairer future, not one that is all decided by a limited number of people.
But I think if you look back in the history books, this has always been really the case, hasn't it? That the few make the decisions on the many, because they probably are the innovators that get ahead of this current situation and have all of that knowledge that they use, and they get so much power, money, influence, that they don't really want to give it away. And then everybody else is trying to catch up, trying to see where they fit into that piece of the puzzle. And I would say that's difficult for anybody and everybody. And it's going to have to be, equality and equity is going to be very different in the future because of the technologies that are coming through now, and especially AI. Having recently been at a conference around AI, it's it's frightening but exciting in equal measures. And I think the fear comes from not understanding the process and not having a deep understanding of the whole system and of the whole process. And I suppose again, if we relate it back to the interview process itself, for candidates, it's trying to understand the interview process. Where do they go to find out how can I get this job? Because people need jobs to help the economy go around, but in a more, not selfish, but thinking about themselves way. They want a job that they can grow into, that they can love, that they can be passionate about. Like a job like you and I both have, Omid, that we are really passionate and we really love what we do. But I'm sure you've sat on some of the panels and you've looked at people walking in the door and you've thought, that's a big no-no for me. That's a big red flag. That said something, did something, or didn't do something. And you just thought, that's a massive red flag. You could have very easily and quickly found that out somewhere else. You could have Googled it. You could have went onto the internet. You could have asked a friend. You could have rang up the HR department and found this out before even walking in the door. What I'm really asking is, do you have those sort of red flags when it comes to candidates whenever they walk in the door and you go, that person's not for me. It doesn't matter if they're the most skilled, qualified, experienced person, but there is just something, and you go, they're not for they won't fit in this place. So, or it's like, someone walking in with a coffee cup in one hand and a book in another hand, and their phone in this same hand as the book, and they look all disheveled and all over the place. And to me, that's my own little red flag. But do you have any examples of that? Something that the listeners can take away and go, okay, I'll not do that.
I don't have anything as clearly stated as the examples you gave, but that's a good point. Maybe I have to pay more attention to those little details. But the thing that I look for is, so we talked about before about curiosity and adaptability and the communication skills. So I work in the technology sector. When I'm interviewing somebody, I want to know that they have been thinking about this. They are interested. They have a passion for technology, and things are very widely available now. So if you are interested in, I don't know, in Python coding, it is a simple Google search away to do my first Python project, and you will likely land on an Open University course. It is freely available. You don't have to spend anything. So if you have access to a computer, if you don't have a computer in a library, it is these things especially in the developed world, they are available. So when somebody comes for a technology role and they haven't even Googled it before, and you can tell it from the conversation, it's not a red flag, but it's probably a sign that it's not quite time for them. And I have had those kind of interviews, and I'd love to help the person, but that's just not the right time for each other. So I recommend them to if I know universities are very expensive and courses can be expensive, so just to look online, to try to build a rich digital portfolio of themselves. It can be all free courses, and then let's see you next year, or let's see you in 3 months' time, or when you have it ready, this is my email, send it to me, and we will talk again. So a little bit of preparedness, a little bit of interest, curiosity, and passion that can be demonstrated, it goes a long way.
Yeah, it certainly does. And the way I look at life, I have a little philosophy, a little saying that how you do something is how you do everything. And if someone came in to be underprepared, I would be thinking that's how they will show up during their working life. And you're potentially right, it's maybe just the wrong time. It's not that they're a bad person or they didn't do that because. It's maybe it's just not the right time for them at that moment. And they maybe need the knockback to go away and actually put the time in and make the effort to come back ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely. That's lovely. Okay, now we're going to change pace ever so slightly. So this is what we like to call our quick fire round, which is a series of questions that we are going to ask. And the answers to these questions are very simple. It's either yes, no, or pass. Okay, so it's yes, no, or pass. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Is it acceptable to wear pajama bottoms to a Zoom interview?
Yes.
Is it okay to bribe the interviewers?
No.
Is it wise to ask the interviewer for a selfie together at the end?
Why not?
Should a candidate smile during the interview?
Not should, but helps.
Helps. Should you answer the first question with a dramatic pause for effect?
If it is natural, why not? But if it is faked, it will be put off.
Okay. Should women wear high heels to an interview?
Who am I to say that? Have an opinion on that?
Is that a pass?
That is a pass, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever they choose.
Yeah. Is it acceptable to ask the interviewer how much they make?
No.
Should you high five the interviewer at the end?
If it's natural, if it has a good energy, yeah, why not?
Should a candidate swear during an interview?
Sure. I don't enjoy it, no.
No. And is it acceptable to bring your mum to the interview for moral support?
That's a good one. Uh, if it helps, yeah, why not?
Okay, and that was the last of those quick fire questions. How did you find that?
Uh, nice. Some of them unexpected. Yeah. I'll keep bringing your mom to the interview. I'll think about that.
Well, yes, I mean those questions are asked to me usually on a weekly basis, and it's a
Really?
reason, yeah, and it's the reason why I have them in that way, in that order, because they are asked quite often, and it always, well, it doesn't always anymore. It doesn't surprise me anymore when people ask these questions, which means that the information isn't readily available.
Mm.
So looking at it from your point of view and looking at it from another point of view and maybe taking those away and understanding, is this the right thing? Is this not the right thing? They can make up their own minds with this, but at least the information's there for them to have and to hear. So a lot of the listeners now will be thinking, yeah, I probably could bring my mum. She could sit in the car and that would be great. Yeah, that would definitely give me moral support. Yeah, we'll head for a coffee afterwards and that'll be a nice little day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and especially when it is your first role and you're feeling nervous about it,
Yeah,
whatever moral support helps. I mean, that's a funny example, but I'm sure when you're actually experiencing that, there's nothing funny about it. And if
no.
you need that moral support, definitely whatever moral support helps you. And yeah, I've had cases where I interviewed people while I had my child with me because there was no other option. So that is another example of well, a different example similar to can I bring your mom is can I bring my child to the interview?
Well, it's funny you say that. Some companies would frown upon that, but I would think that that is okay because as a parent of four children, there's times when things happen and there's no other option. And would you rather cancel and put that off to another time, or would you rather be able to come in and do that interview and help that person or support that person through that moment? Because yourself, interviews can be very stressful, and just even postponing an interview can heighten that stress and make it last longer, which is not a good thing to happen for anybody.
Yeah, exactly, and that can be the difference between getting that opportunity or not.
Yeah.
It's postponing a job interview can be decision maker for the employer, especially if they're looking to hire somebody sooner. And we live in, since after the pandemic, things have changed a lot. Uh, Remote work is more accessible and it's more acceptable as well.
Yeah.
In that age, in this age, if the type of job you do allows, employers uh, uh, should provide those flexibilities if the job allows. I mean, if you're hiring, I don't know if you're hiring a forklift operator that needs to
Hmm.
be operating a forklift day in, day out, if they can, if they have child caring problems or challenges, they won't be able to operate the forklift with a child while they're
Yeah.
holding a child. So that's the case where you have to think about, okay, so you have to talk about it. But if that is
Yeah.
not the type of, if the job doesn't require that, why not?
Yeah. It's all very situational, isn't it? And I think,
Mhm.
as you quite rightly said, COVID has changed the whole landscape of the working world, and people do work a lot from home now. Childcare, as much as it still is a problem, may be ever so slightly easier being able to be here when your children come in, as opposed to having to try to get somebody else to be here and do all of the organization.
Yeah, definitely.
But you know what? We could talk about this forever. Absolutely talk about this forever. But I want to get the question answered why we're really here, Omid. I want you to tell all of our listeners all about your worst interview ever. So over to you.
I thought about this before the interview. Um, yeah, but it has to be at one of my first interviews, if I had to pick one. So when I first started my computer engineering degree, the first 2 years they were uh, so much fun. I was learning new things all the time, super enthusiastic, and was one of the top students. But come third year, I started losing interest because I started seeing a gap between the type of things that we were taught at the class and the type of things that in the real world, the type of skills that were demanded in the real world. And that kind of pushed me more towards getting involved with open source projects, doing internships here, there, doing some volunteer work, doing some personal projects. And I was learning more outside the classroom than inside the classroom.
Mm.
But then at some point I had to apply for a paid job. A few years had passed, and I was lagging behind with my university classes, with my grades, and it wasn't going well. So the first interview I went to, they asked about my university degree. This was the time that I should have finished the university about a year ago, but I was still in the third year. So I just couldn't answer how and why I haven't graduated yet, while everybody else had graduated. And I didn't have the right words to articulate the type of skills that I had learned outside of the classroom. And I was just speechless. It was for a junior software development job. It was the type of job that I could do with my eyes closed. I was overqualified for the job, but I was so bad in that interview. I hated myself. And coming out of that interview, I said, okay, I'm going to change this, and I have to find a way to explain myself, explain what I know. And that's after that, the second interview was equally as bad. So I didn't learn the lesson right away. But that kind of set the scene for the type of career that I chose, I guess, as well.
Yeah, I think it did. I think it did. And thank you very much for sharing that with us, Omid, because that'll resonate with a lot of people. And it's usually those very simple questions that trip us up the most. The technical questions, I'm sure you could have answered with your eyes closed. But when they ask, why have you not qualified or finished your degree course, potentially you didn't know yourself at that time. You know, you're a young man of a certain age and you were learning more outside of the classroom than inside the classroom. You might have been just not aware of why. And as you said, you probably didn't have the words to explain that at the time, because I don't know too many 19, 20-year-olds that could explain why they haven't finished their course when they should have a year ago.
Yeah, exactly.
But I take it you learnt from that and you put things right in the third, fourth, maybe fifth interview where you were able to articulate it better.
Yeah, I am. I'm not very confident communicator. I not great with words, and also and because of that, I mean, back then digital badges didn't exist yet, but I started looking into making my work do the talking rather than me do the talking. So being in technology was good because I could just put everything onto a website or build a little tool that I would just send before the interview. So most of the interview questions were already answered by the time that I was sitting across from the desk with them. So And that kind of helped me get my first job, letting my letting my digital version of me do the talking, rather than relying solely on my words to convince the person that I was worthy. That kind of helped for me, and that set the scene for later on in my career when I was introduced to digital badges, to be inspired by it and to advocate for it, to build a career on it, because it helped me. It surely can help at least one other person in the world. And if that is it, if that is all I can achieve, I will be happy.
That's it, isn't it? And again, that's lovely. Just to think that what you do will have a positive effect on at least one person. Well, I know from the digital badges, and I can tell you from now that you affect more than just the one person. You affect many people with these digital badges, and the future looks quite bright for these as well, because more and more people are becoming more aware of them. And doing things like this and communicating, by the way, as well as you do, and you do, you will get this message out to more and more people.
Thank you.
And more people will then start to understand what this is and the usefulness of it, and use it as a tool, not as a crutch, but as a tool with all the other tools that they have within their bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this has been absolutely fantastic today. And like I always do with all of my shows, I like to do a little bit of a roundup at the end, a little bit of a takeaway for our listeners. Because we've covered so much today, there's 3 things that I had taken away from what we were discussing. The first one was about being curious and adaptable. And how you then communicate that during your interview process is potentially also really important. How can you demonstrate that you're curious, and how can you demonstrate that you're adaptable? Well, potentially that'll look something when they look back on your CV and they see the experiences that you have, that you've maybe went to different places and done different things. Now that's quite adaptable. And even that is quite curious as well, to think that maybe you were a barista one month, and then the next month you were working for the council, and the month after that you were whatever. I'm not saying that job hopping is necessarily a good thing. However, getting the right employer and someone with that very open mind to think that maybe you just haven't found the right position yet, and you're still looking for that position, or you just are a very curious person and you want to learn lots and learn new skills, well, that's maybe a good thing to say during an interview, and it's just the way you put that across. And the second thing is being a problem solver and never giving up. And I think that sort of ties into you as a person, that never give up attitude and a problem solver. Well, you're a CTO, so there's always going to be a problem, and you're the solution minded kind of guy that goes, okay, right, there's a problem here. What can we do to work around it? And it sounds like you've done that with your life as well, with regards to the moving around the different countries also. There's a problem. Let's find a solution. Let's get moving on. And that's obviously stayed you in really good stead, or stood you in really good stead, because you're now CTO of the organization. So it's obviously worked in your favor what you've been doing. But it is that never give up attitude that you have, and I can hear it, I can see it, I can feel it just from what you're saying. And that's another real good communication skill, to be able to help someone feel what you're saying as opposed to just hearing what they're saying. And I can feel it, and I hope all of our audience at the moment can feel that as well. But my favorite thing was about being passionate for the role. That really sings to me as well. If I don't feel that passion during the interview, and I keep using that word feel, because we can say lots of words, and it won't make us feel anything. But you can feel someone's passion as they speak, through their energy, through their delivery. It's those soft, important skills about even preparing for that interview, and how you communicate during that interview is so important. But I love that, having the passion to say, yes, I might not know everything, but I'm willing to give this a go. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to jump in with 2 feet, and let's see where we go with this. That's the kind of person I want working for me. That's exactly the person I want working for me. And I would go as far as saying, as potentially the person that you would want working for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Omid, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy day to come on here and share some of these wonderful takeaways with our listeners. I know I have taken a lot away from today, and I'm sure they will have also. So where could everybody, if they wanted to reach out to you, find you, Omid?
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Kevin. It has been fun, very different from what I was expecting. I enjoyed every minute of it, and at points I even forgot that it was being recorded. Just felt like a genuine chat. And in terms of follow-ups, you can always check my personal website at omidmufeed.com to provide the details. If you are interested in digital badges and want to have a chat or want to create a profile, whether as an individual, as a student, or as an organization, as an employer, as an education organization, you can go on to navigator.app and you can sign up for a free account, and it's very good to try that. Or you can always contact me at omid@navigator.org as well. Or you can find me on LinkedIn at omufeed, or on Twitter, omufeed, OMUFEED. I'm easy to find.
You sound like you're everywhere, Omid. And for everybody, I will put all of the contact details into the show notes. But for now, Omid, thank you very much. And all of our listeners, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you too. Have a good evening.
For more details about our guest, or if you would like to be a guest, go to www.interviewskillscoach.co.uk/my-worst-interview-ever, or find us on Facebook or LinkedIn. And remember, on the other side of a successful interview is the life you deserve.